To achieve carbon neutrality. Carbon neutrality is an issue in which the entire planet should cooperate. We should share our knowledge and work hand in hand to save the world. Japan has pledged to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050 and set its 2030 reduction target to 46% of 2013 levels. To achieve global carbon neutrality, one of the key strategies is international cooperation. Global decarbonization is more than one country can achieve. It requires global action. Any developing country should not be left behind in this global initiative. Japan is committed to providing about $60 billion of climate finance over 5 years from 2021 to help them combat climate change. Japan is also making contributions of up to $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund, established under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. In addition to this financial assistance, Japan has made use of its advantage as an innovator in carbon-neutral technology to work together with developing countries. In Pacific Island nations, Japan is implementing the Green Power Island program.
Many Pacific nations depend on imported diesel fuel for power generation, making reducing emissions and ensuring energy security major issues. To answer them, we are working to introduce renewable power generation, such as solar and wind, and simultaneously achieve a stable power supply.
Japan is providing more than just technical support.
To ensure sustainable operation, training of local engineers and technicians is vital. As part of this program, we also promote development of local human resources. I want to help Pacific Island nations achieve 100% renewable energy by sharing Japan's knowledge and leverage our experience to contribute to global carbon neutrality.
Since most CO2 is emitted from cities, region and city-level initiatives for decarbonization, especially in developing countries, are becoming more significant. Local governments in Japan are working together with cities overseas, sharing solutions they have developed in building a decarbonized society. So far, 41 cities and regions throughout Asia and elsewhere in the world have been collaborating with 17 local governments in Japan. The city of Toyama, which is an environmental model city in Japan, has established an intercity cooperation program with their counterparts in Indonesia to help provide technology and develop human resources.
The work done by Toyama truly stands out and should be an example for others to follow. In Tabanan, compact but powerful hydroelectric generators from Toyama are providing power. Meanwhile, local engineers are going to Toyama to improve their skills and know-how. In Semarang, public city buses are being converted to run on low-carbon, cleaner natural gas, leading to an improvement in the environment. Our hope is to further promote these local partnerships to ensure a sustainable future. It is of vital importance that we take serious action on climate change together.
To further strengthen efforts to support developing nations, Japan has launched several initiatives to assist them in curbing their emissions while still achieving rapid economic growth. One such program is the Asia Energy Transition Initiative, which includes a variety of support for shifting energy sources in the region, allowing each nation to follow its own pathway to achieve both economic growth and carbon neutrality. Japan will contribute to global carbon neutrality, and we will continue working to achieve even more.
Dear distinguished guests and participants, welcome to the second day of Zero Carbon City International Forum. We are going to start shortly. Before the forum starts, there are a few housekeeping announcements from the Secretariat. The program is available on the forum website. For speakers, please keep your video on and mute your microphone during the session. During this session, There will be simultaneous interpretation between English and Japanese. Please choose the language you want to listen to using the interpretation function on your Zoom tab. Thank you very much for your attention and cooperation. The forum will start soon. Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, thank you very much for your participation on the Day 2 of the Zero Carbon City International Forum, organized by Ministry of the Environment, Japan, and the Office of the United States Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. First of all, I would like to introduce two distinguished speakers for opening remarks. Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Ministry of the Environment, Japan. And Ms. Jay Nishida, Assistant Administrator, Office for International and Tribal Affairs, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you very much for your participation today. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Ministry of the Environment, Japan, to deliver his opening remarks.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the second day of the Zero Carbon City International Forum, and would like to deliver a few opening remarks. Today, like yesterday, I would like to thank all the participants who are joining us from around the world. This forum is co-hosted by the Ministry of the Environment Japan and the U.S. Office of Special Presidential Envoy for Climate. It is my pleasure to open the second day of the forum with the Assistant Administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Ms. Jay Nishida. In addressing the climate crisis, it is necessary to promote carbon-neutral initiatives in each country and region, and ensure the decarbonization of urban areas, which are said to account for more than 70% of global CO2 emissions. The United States and Japan will continue to promote cooperation on subnational decarbonization in third countries under the Japan-US Global Subnational Zero Carbon Promotion Initiative, launched at COP26 last November. Yesterday, we were joined by Japan's Environment Minister, Mr. Tsuyoshi Yamaguchi, Mr. Ram Emanuel, Ambassador of the United States to Japan, Ms. Patricia Espinoza, Executive Director of the UNFCCC, as well as mayors and officials from various cities. Through discussions at the two sessions on the first day, we were able to confirm advanced efforts toward urban decarbonization. Presentations shared examples of the importance of multi-level cooperation among countries, cities, and others. Today, we have prepared 4 panel sessions on specific themes to further deepen discussion from the first day. The theme of panel 1 is city-to-city cooperation. Each of the 6 cities will introduce a case study of how they are cooperating and achieving results in international city-to-city cooperation. The theme of panel 2 is buildings and transportation. The panelists will introduce energy-saving and zero-emission buildings and transportation systems, which can be a source of emissions in the medium to long term. The theme of panel 3 is resilience. The panel will introduce the positioning of disaster risk management in urban planning and infrastructure, and specific measures for adaptation to climate change. The theme of panel 4 is zero carbon in scale of complexity or district level. The panel will introduce specific plans to create apartment complexes and city blocks that will lead the way in achieving zero carbon emissions as a model case in each city. We hope that forum participants will find panel sessions they are interested in and deepen their knowledge by watching the discussions. Finally, I would like to conclude my opening remarks by wishing every success to today's presentations and discussions. I hope that you can further accelerate your efforts toward urban decarbonization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister Shoda, for your very insightful remarks. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Jane Nishida, Assistant Administrator, Office for International and Tribal Affairs, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, to deliver her opening remarks.
Thank you, Vice Minister Shoda and the Ministry of Environment for inviting me to speak today. Good morning from Washington, D.C. I'm sorry that I'm not able to join you in person, and good evening or good afternoon, wherever you may be participating today. As was mentioned, my name is Jane Nishida. I am the Assistant Administrator for International and Tribal Affairs at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. I am pleased to join the government of Japan, the Office of U.S. Special Climate Envoy, and others today in participating in this second Zero Carbon City International Forum. EPA Administrator Michael Regan was honored to join the Ministry of Environment at COP26 in Glasgow to help launch the first global subnational zero carbon initiative. It is very clear that we cannot delay cuts in heat trapping carbon emissions, and that we cannot wait to adapt to present and anticipated impacts of climate change. To do so, we would be jeopardizing our ability to live in a secure and stable and sustainable future. The importance of cities will only grow with the trends of increasing urbanization that we see today. We can and we must ensure that this growth occurs in a sustainable, green manner that will benefit both people and our planet. The lessons that we are learning today about how to create and maintain zero carbon cities should lead this growth. Cities are and will continue to be, of necessity and circumstance, the prime drivers for local action on climate change. Yesterday, as Vice Minister Shoda mentioned, we have heard about the innovative work being done in cities across the world to achieve net zero carbon emissions, including cities from Japan, Latin America, the United States, and elsewhere. We are proud and honored that the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Ministry of Environment Japan have a long history of working together on climate adaptation and resilience, including promoting enhanced global action to recognize, support, and accelerate subnational climate action on all fronts. We have done this through the United Nations Global Adaptation Network, or GAN, launching innovative initiatives such as facilitating adaptation learning exchanges between cities and communities. We have also introduced in the Global South a powerful, time-tested capacity building tool called the Educational Partnerships for Innovation in Communities, also known as EPIC. This tool helps cities adapt, build resilience, and develop more sustainably by matching local government needs and priorities with the skills and the know-how of university faculty and students. By involving youth in the resolution of crises such as climate change, this is going to be critical to our future and can be accomplished through this EPIC model. The EPIC model has been implemented by more than 70 university-based programs in more than 300 diverse communities globally. Just one example of this EPIC model is taking place in Lusaka, Zambia, where the mayor and city council are working with the local university there to help a large informal settlement reduce vulnerability to flooding. There are also 11 other EPIC projects ranging from adaptation to building resilience and developing more sustainably now underway in several cities in the South and Southeast Asia. We would like to work with our international partners to further expand the EPIC regional networks elsewhere in the global south. EPA also has other tools that can help build equitable, healthy, and thriving cities while reducing greenhouse gases and adapting to climate change. We are using a tool called Adaptation Resource Center, or ARC-X, to help U.S. cities address their smart growth, environmental justice, and climate adaptation needs. By using this tool, local decision makers can obtain an integrated package of information tailored specifically to their needs. And EPA is now making the content and code of this ARC-X system available to our international partners at no cost. For example, the Environmental Agency of the state of São Paulo, Brazil, has developed its own version of the ARC-X system to help with adaptation issues in São Paulo. Cities present one of the biggest opportunities of our generation to combat climate change and create resilient and equitable solutions for the future. The activities that are going to be discussed at this forum represent a great starting point. So to all of you, thank you, and we look forward to our continuing dialogue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nishida, for your wonderful remarks. I would like to thank these distinguished speakers for wonderful remarks at the beginning of today's program. This is the end of the opening session. Now, we would like to start the parallel session part. There will be 2 sessions, session 1 and 2, running parallel for 50 minutes from now. For session 1, please stay here for watching. For watching the session 2, please scan the QR code we are showing on the screen now. Now, we are going to start parallel session 1, City-to-City Collaboration, Accelerating Decarbonization Domino. This session is moderated by Dr. Junichi Fujino, Program Director, Integrated Sustainability Center, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. Fujino-san, the floor is now yours.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning from Tokyo, Japan. This session is quite exciting because the city is a kind of key engine to achieve realized zero carbon in the world towards 2050. And then we have one mayor video message, and then 6 excellent presentation within this 15 minutes. It's also a great challenge to share our lesson learned to the world because the city is quite important. So let's get into the program. And then first, I would like to invite the Mayor Yamanaka, the city of Yokohama's video message first, and then, okay, please listen to his message.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is Takeharu Yamanaka, Mayor of Yokohama. First of all, I would like to share my appreciation for the governments of Japan and the United States for holding this event and providing me with this opportunity to speak on this significant occasion. In Japan, many local governments made declarations ahead of the national government to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. These local government initiatives influenced the national government to declare carbon neutrality in October 2020. It is critical that local governments and national government synchronize their efforts and effectively collaborate to achieve carbon neutrality. As one of the first cities in Japan to commit itself to realizing carbon neutrality, Yokohama consolidates local government efforts of zero carbon cities and has made a proposal to the national government based on them. Then, the national government formulated a carbon neutrality roadmap and announced to the world that the local and the national governments would move forward together toward carbon neutrality. Recently, IPCC issued a statement that it is unequivocal that human activity is driving a climate change, and it is affecting the Earth's oceans, atmosphere, ice, and the biosphere in ways that are rapid and widespread. Temperatures around the globe are rising at an accelerated pace. As an urgent global issue, we cannot waste time anymore. We must address decarbonization on a global scale, transcending national and regional boundaries. Toward this goal, the city of Yokohama has been collaborating with partners globally and has been a member of various international networks such as ICLEI, C40, and the CNCA. We have also hosted the annual Asia Smart City Conference in Yokohama since 2012. The conference provides a forum for diverse global leaders to share the latest insights on sustainable urban development. Every year, we have fruitful discussions on urban issues, visions for urban growth and carbon neutrality. For more than a decade, through the YPOT project, Yokohama has made concrete contributions to the sustainable development of cities in Asia and the Pacific. Two cities that we'll speak today, Da Nang and Bangkok, have been collaborating with Yokohama through this project. As leaders in carbon neutrality in our respective countries, we will strive to further expand our collaborations, aiming for carbon neutrality. Today, carbon neutrality is an urgent issue that we cannot fail to address. Building a decarbonized society will inspire innovation and create new business opportunities. Yokohama will further accelerate its decarbonization efforts as a new growth strategy looking ahead to post-COVID society and contribute to the sustainable development of Japan and the world. Let us all remain committed to addressing this very important challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamanaka, His Excellency, for your very important message, how the city lead to the zero carbon. And then, as the mayor mentioned, Yokohama is the one of the leading city in Japan to achieve zero carbon, also to engage kind of city-to-city collaboration in the world. So I would like to invite Mr. Toru Hashimoto. He's the Director General from Yokohama City. And then, floor is yours. Over to you, Hashimoto-san. よろしくお願いします。
Thank you very much, Fujino-san. I'd like to use my slide to follow up what Mayor Yamanaka said with a concrete example we are doing towards decarbonization. All right, so this is Yokohama. And as the mayor mentioned, we are doing this project called Whiteboard, Yokohama Partnership of Resources and Technology. This is a public and private collaboration that City of Yokohama providing the knowledge and the connection to the world, while private sector company provides the technology towards carbon neutrality. And as you know, we are fully committed to the carbon neutrality towards the 2050, and we are one of the first city to make this commitment. While doing this commitment, we are being connected to the world networks, global networks such as C40 and CNCA. Of course, ICLAI and other important think tank network is important. And also, we have Frankfurt, where we have a sister partnership city connection. And also that we are working with Asian cities represented by Da Nang and Bangkok, who is also participating in today's session. Well, what we are doing with these partnership cities, as you can see, the Bangkok, we are installing some of the carbon neutrality related equipment. And also the Da Nang, we are doing a little bit more comprehensively towards the project. And also that we are working with the Cebu and other private sector-led development through collaboration with Yokohama Urban Solution Alliance, represented as USA on the left-hand side. Let me explain a little bit more in detail with what we have done with the Bangkok. Bangkok is, as you know, already committed to the carbon neutrality. And we have started the collaboration around 2012, while we are helping them to formulate their master plan of climate change. And we are continuously working with them for the capacity building. This collaboration was made possible with the JICA. And we believe that this collaboration led to the confidence that BMA, Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, can declare the carbon commitment the last year. With the Da Nang, we are working under a similar arrangement with the support from JICA and, more importantly, Ministry of the Environment. So we are, again, working to make the master plan. Then we are doing the dialogue, what we called Da Nang Urban Development Forum, for several times a year. Then I think this is most important, that we formulate actual project to not just plan, but a project to contribute to the carbon neutrality. So looking from our side, the city of Yokohama identified Minato Mirai 21, this is a central new urban development, as a specialized area for carbon neutrality. And as you can see that the several building has a highest ranking in terms of carbon neutrality. And we are also doing more experimental pilot demonstration project as well. So based on this kind of a background and then our experiences, for example, we are helping the Da Nang city for fostering eco-industry parks. You can see that several instruments, several facilities are installed, such as radiant air conditioning system, which may reduce the carbon emission 30 to 50%. And also that we are working with a company called Makunika to install the solar power on the roof connected with the redox flow batteries. And also we have the company called Osumi, who is monitoring and to enhance the efficiency of this kind of arrangement to make entire industry park as eco-friendly. So we started from a facility, smaller, but we expand the scale. I think one uniqueness of our arrangement is that we are not working alone. The city of Yokohama is working with the USA, as I mentioned, and also IGES is our important partner where Fujino-san belongs. And also we are working with the national government and a specialized agency. And also we are working with the international institutes such as World Bank, ADB as well. All right, this is all I have today, and I'd like to hear more from my friends, other cities. But if you are interested in, please check our website. You can come through this QR code, or you can search for the whiteboard. There's a rich of knowledge materials is on the website. You can easily download. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hashimoto-san, for your wonderful presentation and then keeping the time in 5 minutes. It's quite a great challenge. And then, okay, so then next I would like to listen to the voices from the Da Nang and then also Bangkok, who lead the city to be zero carbon, also who work together with Yokohama City. Okay, then First, I would like to invite Miss Hati Kim Nguyen from Da Nang City. She's the Deputy Manager. So, over to you, Kim-san, please. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, to the forum to give me the chance to have this forum. I would like to present on the project on the building Da Nang become to an environmental city, and this is very important to between the collaboration between Da Nang and Yokohama City in the next time. Please. Yeah. I don't have enough time to tell detail about the Da Nang environmental city, but I would like to share the detail my presentation for you, and I also to talk about the collaboration between Da Nang and Yokohama. Next. This is located in Vietnam, and we have around more than 1,020 kilometers square, and about 1.1 million people. This is with the 8 districts in Da Nang City. Next slide. And beating Da Nang, we come to the environmental city. We in the 2008 we had the first day on the implementing environmental skill, and after 12 years, we had a new project on the phase 2 with the 10 years, next 10 years. And next slide. And we also to have some the objectives in the 10 year on environmental city. We would like to have us improve the environmental quality in Da Nang City, and to solve the pollution currently in the next time. And we had for the major on implement the project. The first one we focus on the pollution prevention and controls, as well as we had some the measure on the improve environmental, as well as solve some issues on the water, on the air, on land, and solid waste. Next. In the collaboration with between Da Nang and Yokohama city, we have a more nearly 10 years on the collaboration, and thank you so much the collaboration between the support from the Yokohama city for Da Nang city. Next. The Yokohama city, with the support by the government of Japan and some more the sponsor, we received too much the technical assistance from the Yokohama State, as well as the I guess or the private sector in the from the Yokohama. Next. I would like to share the two great important projects for us. The first one on the implement the waste separation and recycling enhancement from the Yokohama. You know, we have the two-phase support by the Day2 and Yokohama City, as well as I get support for us in the first phase from the 2017 to 2020, and in that time we also received more and more some support from another organization as well as UNDP, IUCN, USAID support on the implement the 3A as well as the marine plastics. So next. And currently we start the phase 2 on the implement the support on the 3As. This is very important for Da Nang on to reduce the solid waste to discharge to environment, as well as to apply some have a sustainable resource circulation system in Da Nang. Next. And currently we also to collaborate closely with the Yokohama on to have the new project on the carbon neutral strategy in Da Nang City. Next. So we try to focus on the the main sector such as on the energy using, on the heating, on the household using energies using in the household. Next. This is some potential action in the next time to support us on the between the collaboration between the Da Nang and Yokohama. Next. And this is the potential motto of the industrial park in Da Nang City. We would like to want to implement this. Next. Okay. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Harty Kim-san, for your very detailed explanation of your how Da Nang leads kind of low carbon, zero carbon in Vietnam, and how you work together with Yokohama, also the related to the stakeholder organization. Okay, then next I would like to invite Mr. Birhi Tachana Pradit. My pronunciation is okay or not? Okay, but you have 5 minutes, and he is a director in city of Bangkok from Thailand. So over to you. Thank you so much.
First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to JICA the opportunity to invite BMA to introduce my ambition to zero carbon and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Virat Kanchana Pradit, Director of Air Quality and Noise Management Division, Department of Environment, BMA. Today, I would like to share with you on BMA effort to do good progress with achieving net zero emission. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Bangkok Master Plan on Climate Change 2013 to 2023. This plan had technical cooperation by JICA and Yokohama City. We set the target to reduce GHG emission by 13.57% from BAU in 2020 that comply with NAMA. From the result of comprehensive review in 2016, for the half of plan implementation, BMA had GHG emission for 42.75 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, and the target at 46.544 million tons in 2020. These targets are not covered until the end of this plan in 2020. Moreover, the NDC framework has set a new target in 2030, which comply with Paris Agreement. Therefore, to fill this gap, BMA has developed a new Bangkok Master Plan on climate change to 2021 to 2030 and set the new target in 2030 to be aligned with the Paris Agreement. Next slide, please. This slide shows that my Prime Minister had commitment in COP26 to reaching carbon neutrality in 2050 and reaching net zero emission in or before 2065. Accelerated Thailand NDC reduction target are 40%. We need supporting with financing facility, technology transfer, capacity building, cooperation among the nations. Next slide, please. The new Bangkok Master Plan has set target to reduce GHG emission by 19% compared with the BAU in 2030 and set vision for new Master Plan to net zero reduction in 2050. Next slide, please. For the Bangkok Master Plan and the new Bangkok Master Plan, we have 4 sectors in mitigation part and at the same in transport, energy, waste and wastewater, and green urban planning. The target in 2030 GHG reduction in transport 28% and energy sector 16% to compare with BAU at each sector. In transport, there are 4 main sectors in transport, such as public transportation, infrastructure, supporting measure, motor vehicle, non-motorized transportation, traffic volume flow control, public awareness raising. In transport sector, rail transport is the important measure in GHG reduction. According to the plan for rail transport development in Bangkok metropolitan region, we are 14 routes and distance about 560 kilometers. Recent, we have 8 rail transport routes and 210 kilometers. Next slide, please. For adaptation measure for the new master plan, BMA has aligned with the National Adaptation Plan. However, flooding is a major problem in Bangkok that had heavy rain in short periods. The major measures are optimizing the flood protection system, optimizing drainage system in main road and drainage channel, improve and development of canal to increase drainage efficiency, increase the efficiency of flood response such as preparation of warning system and database and ETs and etc. Next slide, please. We realize that climate change problem cannot tackled by local authority alone. BMA had cooperated closely with JICA and Yokohama City for prepare the new master plan and work with C40 and C40 members and work with WWF for Earth Hour activity and work with various private company, public sector, and the other. It emphasized the importance of building cooperation with various stakeholders in solving social problems. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Birhi Tanchana Pratiyat-san, for your excellent presentation. Yes, Bangkok is quite a key city to make zero carbon from the kind of ASEAN. Thank you so much. Okay, then next I would like to invite the next kind of a pair of city-to-city collaboration from Toyama City. I would like to invite Mr. Seiichi Chaki-san. He is Deputy Director General in Toyama City. So, Chaki-san, どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
Floor is yours, Mr. Chaki. Hello, everyone. My name is Seiichi Chaki of Toyama City Environmental Department. Thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation today. With a limited time, I would like to start my presentation without further ado. Toyama City is a mid-sized city located almost at the center of Japan, with a population of about 410,000 and an area space of some 1,200 square kilometers. Next slide, please. It is the second largest city in Japan with a similar population size. Surrounded by the beautiful Tateyama mountain range, which rises to 3,000 meters, Toyama has historically been a fortunate city with less natural disasters such as earthquakes and typhoons. Next slide. Turning to our energy policy. Aiming to become a green society by 2050, we declared in March 2021 the goal of zero carbon city. On that occasion, we have also formulated our energy vision with the promotion of renewables and energy conservation, revitalization of energy-related businesses, and the public-private collaboration as major policy pillars. As the zero carbon city is a very ambitious goal, it is important to promote these four policies. Next slide. I would like to share an outcome of our energy policy. This is a project to build a model to create an independent and decentralized energy system. This is a model used for municipal gyms and is being implemented in cooperation with local utility company. These gyms will be used as evacuation shelters at the time of natural disasters. And this is designated as the shelters for local people. Japan is a country prone to earthquakes, windstorms, and floods, so we believe it is important to use this technology against disaster risks. Next slide. City-to-city collaboration is the theme of this session. Toyama City has concluded cooperative agreements with many Southeast Asian cities to share through intercity cooperation projects our know-how in urban development and to introduce environmental technologies owned by our local companies. In particular, we have worked with many Indonesian cities. We have helped introduce small-scale hydroelectric power generation systems to areas without electricity and supported the conversion of diesel buses to run on cleaner natural gas. So our activities are not limited to decarbonization. By the way, Lenca, Chile, which is also participating in the session, is the only South American city to have signed a cooperation agreement with us. Our first contact with Lenka was in March 2019 at an international conference in Greece. Mayor Castro, who is still the incumbent mayor of the city, and the former mayor of Toyama City exchanged views on environmental initiatives on that occasion. That occasion was followed by the visit by Lenka officials to Toyama City to sign a cooperation agreement on urban development. Since 2020, with the support of the Japanese Ministry of the Environment, we have been engaged in a research project on intercity cooperation for the realization of a decarbonized society. In the city-to-city collaboration project, we have been working on programs that can contribute to the SDGs. Next slide, please. In order to promote decarbonization of facilities and entities in Lenka, we are evaluating the possibility of rooftop solar power, green hydrogen production, and fuel cell vehicles. By holding online meetings with the Lenka counterparts on a regular basis, we are sharing our experiences in SDG-related initiatives and energy planning, which received a great deal of interest from our Lenka partners. In particular, Lenka showed great interest in the methodology for setting KPIs for policy formulation. In January this year, moreover, we also held an online event Race to Zero Carbon City seminar, which was attended by the mayor of Lenka and stakeholders in the private sector. At the seminar, both cities shared their decarbonization efforts. We hope that this will boost our cooperation in decarbonization, eventually leading to the decarbonization domino effect. This is end of my presentation. Pandemic has made city-to-city collaboration more difficult, but we will continue to promote intercity cooperation to achieve a zero-carbon city. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, the Deputy Director General Chaki-san, for your very excellent presentation. Then now I'm very much happy to invite the Mayor, His Excellency Mayor Claudio Castro Salas, the city of Lenka, Chile. So over to you. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good morning in Chile and good evening for probably the rest of the audience here. I'm very happy to be participating in this seminar to share our experience from Renka. First of all, I want to speak to you about Renka. Renka is one of 32 municipalities within the city of Santiago. We don't have a city authority, so we have to coordinate between 32 different municipalities. And we are in the northwest area of the city. It's one of the most deprived areas of the city. And that also reflects on the impact of climate change. We have more pollution. We have less green areas than compared with the rest of the city. And that's why we have started a path to face this climate change. So we are very committed towards achieving the carbon neutrality, and we want to promote Renka's social, economic, and territorial transformation, incorporating a systemic approach in the urban planning for the construction of a sustainable borough in order to improve the quality life of Renka's residents and to build a resilient territory to climate change effects. We have started with, this is weird, right? Because all of the cities that have presented have a long path to be where you are today. We started very late, and last year we committed with the Race to Zero campaign from the COP26, and we have endorsed several aspects of the areas of this Race to Zero campaign that you can see here. What have we done towards achieving the Race to Zero? We have been working on our governance, and cooperation is very important in this area, but also in measuring and in the reports that we want to give back to this Race to Zero campaign. So in the local governance, we have started defining all our local policies related to energy, to our local climate change plan, the development plan, the mobility strategy, the environmental ordinance, and now we are working on our local hydric efficiency strategy. Also in the local governance, we have been very committed to engage the private sector because that's the main source of emissions in our territory. So we want to encourage the private sector to measure their footprint, to promote their engagement as protagonists in the construction of the communal carbon neutrality strategy, and also to take concrete actions to reduce their emissions. And we are leading this conversation from the municipality with the private sector, but also the community, the civil society, and the academia. In the local governments, we are also working on strengthening the citizen commitment to the sustainability. We have engaged thousands of neighbors, for example, in our main project, which is the Renca Hills Park. We have also have a lot of environmental education workshops. We have increased our recycling in the city, and we have also worked in the mobility area. In Renca, we are the area of the city where we have the more use of bicycle compared with other boroughs. Related to the national governance, in the COP26, we launched the ACA Chile. We are the 9th country to incorporate these ACAs, right? We also learned this from Japan, where we are together, the local governments, the private sector, the NGOs, and the academic institutions. And this has been very important to lead a national conversation and to propose to the central government more important advances to the carbon neutrality. And we are also leading the conversation among the mayors, not only of our city, but also in the national level. In the international level, we are very happy of this city-to-city collaboration with Toyama, and we have learned a lot about their knowledge, experience, and the capacity development. And we are also trying to direct all these efforts to the implementation of the Serras de Renca, the Renca Hills Metropolitan Park. Renca has been awarded for the development of a consultancy that allows us to carry out a project that reduces CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases, to introduce low carbon technologies in the territory that can apply to the financial scheme of the JCM promoted by the government of Japan. And also, Toyama has shared their experience and their instruments that aims to contribute with the achievement of our sustainable development goals. And finally, regarding the reportability, we know that we can't change what we are not measuring. So we started our work to develop the Renca emissions baseline. We are using the year 2016 as our baseline year. And we are working in this inventory of the emissions that we are very happy because we will launch that results next week here in Renca. And we are also reporting our climate actions in the CDP platform, which is this platform for the global disclosure system for not only cities, but also investors, companies, states, and regions. And we are also committing all the industries in Renca to do the same. We have 5 main carbon neutrality areas of action, all of them also with this environmental education aspect and also with science for making our decisions. We have a lot of initiatives in all of these areas. We know that the construction of sustainable, resilient to climate change and more equal cities is a collective task that requires the action and leadership of local governments and also the commitments of the diversity of actors in the territory. And in this aspect, the international collaboration is essential to accelerate the decarbonization of our cities. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to keep hearing from you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Mayor, for your very powerful presentation. And then, I really missed to go to the Santiago, Chile for COP25 because some reason about I really want to visit your city. Also very much interested your initiative like Aka Chile project, and then it's quite good to lead kind of Race to Zero campaign from the city side. So thank you so much. Then, okay, last but not least, I would like to invite the Miss Maria Gonzalez. She is the principal of the international relations from the Greater Manchester. So, over to you, Maria-san, please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever part of the world you are. It's a pleasure to be here today. So thank you so much, for the invitation to take part in such a significant event. So my name is Maria Gonzalez. I'm Principal for International Relations at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, which is the Metropolitan Authority of Greater Manchester, that brings together 10 local authorities, 10 municipalities, and a metro mayor. For those who are less familiar with Greater Manchester or Manchester, we're the second UK city with a population of nearly 3 million people, 1.2 million homes, 100,000 businesses, and a GVA of nearly £50 billion. Greater Manchester has set out a very ambitious target to become carbon neutral by 2038. It is a science-based target set out by one of our local universities and is one of the first in the UK. We have a very ambitious development plan to help achieve that target using what we call a mission-based approach, working with academia, businesses, but also with our communities and voluntary sector to drive the transition that we need.
Maria-san, pardon, can you make your presentation into full screen?
I'm managing the presentation, yes.
Yeah, like, to show,
No, okay. So, is that okay? Can you see the presentation?
Can you make it full screen, like, to make it, like, how to say?
It's no full screen?
Please push this button. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Apologies. Okay, so I was just saying that we have a 5-year environmental plan to help us to achieve our targets for 2038, which was co-created by both our businesses and also our citizens. So the slides that I got here today is just an introduction of this green mission approach that I mentioned earlier. The environmental plan highlights kind of like the 5 environmental threats that Greater Manchester is facing, which is very similar to what the other cities has already mentioned today. And those are being presenting through the lens of the people, places, and also the economy. So what we're trying to do with the plan is to create a city region which is good for people to live, to work, but also create an environment, a vibrant environment for our. Is the next slide been so? I don't think it is. Sorry. Can you see slide 3? Yeah. So this is what we call a plan on a page. The themes on the environmental plan and on the top, and those 3 on the kind of the key priorities and underneath. And when we got in the middle, the three columns in the middle are those where we're trying to address on how those what go are the direct, carbon emissions areas, and the ones that we need to try to really to kind of address heavily, if we want to cut our carbon emissions. The column on the left is in relation to waste and how we manage our resources, and the two columns on the right are in relation to our natural environment and also our diversity and how we intend to the impact of climate change. So our mission approach is on achieving our carbon neutral targets by 2038. As I said before, it's a science-based target that is represented by the gray column, gray curve that you can see in here. We look at different pathways that can go as close as possible to our target. But as you can see here, there is a big gap between what we need to achieve and then what can be achieved. And that gap, we believe, that is when the innovation lies, and not just innovation in terms of technology, which is obviously very important, but also innovation in terms of new financial models, support our activities, and also new ways of new partnerships or innovative partnerships, that kind of cross sectors and bring together different stakeholders. Also looking about how to work closer with academia, with research institutions, educational institutions, and how to create new ways to educate people and also to create the skills that are needed to help us to drive this transition. But whichever path we take, as you can see here, the challenges are still very high. So if we need to do more, really in the next 5 years, if we really want to create, that big change. Oh, sorry, I think I lost the presentation. Apologies.
Oh, yeah. Please. Yeah,
have I lost the presentation? Yeah?
Yeah. Now I can.
Is the presentation back?
Yes. Now it's back. Yeah.
So the two, in Greater Manchester, the two largest emissions are from private transport and for heating of our homes and buildings. And now these are the two areas that we are currently focused significantly. But we are doing so in a sustaining way as our energy systems become more decentralized and decarbonized, creates greater linkages between our great environment, our homes, buildings, and also our energy infrastructure and our transport infrastructure as well. But you can see here in terms of how we do things, how we're doing. Carbon emissions are going down, but they're not going as fast as they should be. And in fact, kind of the difference between how the carbon emissions are, what target or what we should be doing is really widening rather than shortening. And so what this means is that we really need to do more to accelerate that transition. And what we want to do is to just decarbonize transport and our buildings. We need to adopt more low carbon building heating systems and more electrification of our transport and moving to other types of energy sources such as hydrogen. We're currently doing different things to support that. We have created local energy plans, which are looking at almost a street level, where we identify the infrastructure that is required to get to carbon neutral by 2038, how we looking about how we need to decarbonize those buildings and how we introduce more transport infrastructure and electrification charges. And how we, and also we need to understand how we can regenerate our own energy through renewable sources and how all that comes, how to bring all that together to create an infrastructure that is fit for purpose for the future. My final slide is around our partnership with Osaka, which is currently funded through a European program called IURC. The partnership started last year. We have an initial webinar together with our colleagues from Osaka just before Christmas, before the end of the year. And we agree on the topics that we will be working together for the next 18 months. It will be around waste and resources, and also about energy decarbonization and buildings. And how we're going to try to do that, we're planning to do a number of webinars that bring together our policy leads, our stakeholders, and our experts from both cities. An opportunity for us to share good experiences, to share good practices, programs and activities that we all feel very proud, because we think that addressing some of the challenges that we all facing, but more importantly, is about us, talking to each other and understand where there is common challenges and how we can collaborate together in order to address those. So we're very grateful for the IURC programs, which is helping us to develop this partnership with Osaka. As part of that, we're planning, as part of this program, we planned a visit to Japan, hopefully at the end of this year. And also there will be a return visit from our Japan colleagues back to the UK. And this is the end of my presentation. But if I still got 1 minute, I would like to share a video with you about Greater Manchester. So if I can ask the Secretariat colleagues to bring the video, that will be very much helpful.
I'm very much sorry, but the time is almost already run out, and so then we will put your video on our website, and then I really appreciate the audience can enjoy your video on the website later. So sorry for Maria-san for my very bad time management, but now it's a time for next session, so I cannot manage to show you a video. Also invite the final comment from all the panelists. But I very much appreciate all of your presentation, including the mayor, also all the speaker from the very leading cities in Japan and also Asia, and then UK, also Chile, all over the world, because the Waste Zero or the zero carbon is quite a big issue, and then your leadership is very much encouraging all the audience. And so thank you very much for joining this session, and then sharing the very, very best practices, and then for audience, please enjoy the next session too. And then I very much appreciate all the speakers. Thank you so much. どうもありがとうございました。So this is the end of this the session. Thank you so much. ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Dr. Fujino and distinguished speakers for the wonderful session. Now we would like to start the next parallel session part. There will be 2 sessions, session 3 and 4, running parallel for 15 minutes from now. For session 3, please stay here for watching. For watching the session 4, please scan the QR code we are showing on the screen now. The next session is parallel session 3, Pursuing a Resilient Cities. I would like to invite the moderator of this session, Ms. Kavita Sinha, Deputy Director of the Division of Mitigation and Adaptation, Green Climate Fund. Ms. Sinha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so very much. Greetings, everyone. My name is Kavita Sinha. I'm the Director for the Private Sector Facility of the Green Climate Fund. It's my pleasure and an honor to be moderating this session, which is the panel session 3 on Pursuing a Resilient Cities. As you all know, cities play a very, very important role. Already, more than half the world lives in cities, and by 2050, there are some estimates which say that between 2/3 to 3/4 of the world will be living in cities. Building the resilience of cities, making sure that the planet, the people, and nature can work together requires cities to work, take action, to cooperate with each other, to learn from each other, and to move forward in a manner that is safe for the people as well as for the planet. We have excellent presentations today from cities in the US, Miami-Dade County in Florida, from the Chiba city in Japan, from Nagpur in India, and from San Carlos city in Philippines. We also have one presentation at the end. Each speaker will have about 5 to 6 minutes, followed by one question. At the end, we will have some time for Q&A. With that introduction, it's my great pleasure and honor to invite Ms. Patricia Gomez, Senior Resilience Director for the Miami-Dade County City, to please join us and share with us the experience of Miami-Dade County.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you. So I'm going to transition to these slides and again, good morning from Miami. It's a pleasure to be here in today's Carbon Cities Forum. My name is Patricia Gomez, and I will be talking about Miami-Dade County's road to resilience. First, I would like to talk a little bit about Miami-Dade County. We are located at the tip of the Florida Peninsula. We have 2.8 million people, 34 municipalities, and we are surrounded by water on the east by the ocean and on the west by the Everglades. Miami-Dade County has a long history of climate action. In the last decade, we have published our sustainability plans, and we have focused on regional work as well. More recently, Miami-Dade County has been focused on the sea level rise strategy and the climate action strategy to tackle the issues of climate change. But we also have important regional work through the Be Resilient 305 with 2 of our cities and the Regional Climate Compact with the partnering counties. Miami-Dade County Office of Resilience has 5 units. We are a small but hardworking team. Some of us focus on the mitigation, reducing greenhouse emissions. Other group focus on addressing the climate change impacts such as flooding and sea level rise. Communications group that keeps our community and internal partners informed, a chief bay officer to protect and restore our Biscayne Bay, and a chief heat officer that works on the impacts of extreme heat. We define resilience as preparing for long-term stresses. Here in Miami-Dade County, those are hurricanes and also short-term shocks and such as infrastructure failure and things like that. By addressing resiliency, we can also tackle climate change, equity, economic development, and more. Resilient 305, like I said, is a collaborative with 2 of our cities, City of Miami and City of Miami Beach. It's a unique collaboration, and it was created to respond to global trends of major cities facing urbanization, globalization, and climate change. The Resilient 305 consider coastal tidal flooding, hurricane, inadequate public transportation systems, infrastructure failure, lack of affordable housing, poverty, rainfall flooding, sea level rise, coastal erosion. Here we have the first year report, and we are happy to say that we have more than 53 items in programs, and our collaboration with the cities is ongoing. In 2020, Miami-Dade County published the sea level rise strategy. We are certain that here in Miami-Dade County, we will see 1 foot of sea level rise between 2040 and 2050. And even though sometimes we think 2040 and 2050 is far away, it's only 20 years from now. And so we need to, we are already incorporating this particular constraints in our designs for new facilities. As I mentioned before, we are surrounded by water, and we see the impacts all the time. We have the storm surge due to hurricanes, coastal flooding from tides, groundwater rise in some areas, and of course, sea level rise is going to be affecting all this type of flooding, making it even worse. We have a long history of living with water. And you can see in the map, we have some of our communities that are built in low-lying areas, and we have been dealing with flooding for many, many years. So what are our solutions? We have many in our toolbox. We are looking at green and blue ways, building on high grounds around transit corridors, and also building on field. There are many solutions. There is no one single solution. So we need to really work on implementing the appropriate solution for each of our areas. One of these solutions is, sorry?
Can you please start to wrap up? We have about 2 minutes, a minute and a half. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. One of those solutions is the adaptation action areas, and during the last year, we have been focusing on the Little River. The next item is the climate action strategy, and this one focuses on addressing the source of greenhouse gas emissions. 50% of our emissions come from the transportation and mobile sources, and 41% come from the energy. We have very stringent goals, net zero by 2050, and an interim goal of 50% reduction by 2030 compared to 2019 levels. As you can see here, despite our efforts, our GHG emissions are not reducing at the pace that we wanted. The green line is our target. Implemented the climate action strategy is the yellow curve, and you can see that we have a gap that we need to really work with our community to reduce. Our climate action strategy focuses on buildings, energy, land use and transportation, water and waste, which is matches our sources of emissions. And also we believe that the climate action strategy has many co-benefits, such as job creation, improvement of the health of our community, and addressing equity.
Can we ask you to wrap up, Ms. Gomez, please?
Yes, of course. This is our Building Efficiency 305 program, which its goals is to reduce energy and water consumption 20% over 5 years. So with that, I will conclude my presentation. I'm going to stop here, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Miami-Dade County is indeed taking a lot of, making a lot of effort to that. And you've talked about the importance of intercity collaboration, interdepartmental collaboration. So thank you very much for that. We will now move on to Mr. Anzai Shiu, the Director of the Environment Conservation Department for the City of Chiba, to talk about their actions that they are taking for a resilient city. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you
very much for your kind introduction. I am Anzai Shiu, Director of the Environment Bureau, Environmental Conservation Department, Chiba City. Thank you very much for this valuable opportunity. I would like to discuss actions towards resilience with a special focus on the achievement of decarbonization and attainment of resilience at the same time. Next slide, please. First, a brief introduction of Chiba City. Chiba City is located approximately 40 kilometers east of central Tokyo. While it has a good access to the convenience of urban life, it is also blessed with rich nature and waterfront areas. It is an ordinance-designated city with a population of 970,000. Being relatively close to Narita International Airport, it is a key transportation hub in the prefecture with the nexus of railroads and highways. Next slide, please. I would now like to introduce Chiba City's measures aimed at realizing decarbonization and regional resilience at the same time. Next slide, please. First, on the background factors of the project. Chiba City has been hit in 2019 by a major typhoon, which dealt a serious blow to a wide area of the city. Roofs of the houses were damaged, while many trees were uprooted. Power outage in a wide area lasted for a long time, inflicting a tremendous impact on the lives of citizens. Power outage also caused disruption in water supply and communications. There were even victims who were unable to send distress signals. Next slide, please. Learning from this unprecedented experience, and to become a model city with disaster resilience, we have formulated a Chiba City Disaster Resilient City Development Policy Package in January 2020 in order to enhance the resilience of its utility network. The PPA project is a program for public-private collaboration to install photovoltaic power and storage batteries in public facilities that will serve as evacuation centers in the event of a disaster. Next slide, please. Here are some details of this project that has two key features. The first is the fact that the introduction of renewable energy to evacuation facilities can achieve emission reduction and resilience enhancement at the same time. Chiba City installs solar power and batteries in elementary and junior high schools and other facilities designated as evacuation centers. By consuming renewable energy on site, carbon emission can also be reduced during non-disaster times. At the time of a disaster, as the elementary and junior high schools are used as evacuation centers, it can ensure power supply even if the power goes out, as the power source can be automatically switched to the solar power at the time of the disaster. The second feature is the public-private collaboration that allows the city to start the project without bearing additional costs. Chiba City employs the PPA model to roll out renewables in its municipal schools. Thanks to this scheme, we don't have to bear the installation and maintenance costs. We only pay the private operator the utility bills for the renewable energy consumed on site. The total capacity of the solar power at 117 sites is approximately 7 megawatts, and the estimated annual reduction in CO2 emissions is some 4,000 tons CO2e. This is an equivalent of 1,000 households' annual consumption of electricity. Next slide, please. These are actual installations. As most of the schools have flat rooftops, they are quite suitable for the installation of solar panels. Moreover, solar panels on school rooftops can also raise environmental awareness among students as well. Going forward, we plan to visually show the solar power generating on monitors so that children who will lead our future can experience firsthand the advantages of renewable energy as a positive climate action. Next slide, please. I have covered all the information I needed to share with you. This is a picture of a samurai of some 900 years ago. This is a leading samurai named Chiba Uji, who has laid the foundation of Chiba City. We have to take the challenge of climate change so that we can hand over this beautiful Chiba to next generations. Thank you very much for your close attention.
Thank you, Anjay-san, for that excellent presentation program that you have installed for improving the resilience of the power sector. What challenges did you face in bringing the city along to this mode of this decentralized, resilient power sector? Anjay-san, do you want to respond to that question now?
はい。対象が非常に多いという。
We had a number of candidates sites that also required collaboration among citizens, which served as the key of the success of the project. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for talking about the collaboration between people and the planners to make the cities more resilient. Thank you. We will now move on to our next speaker, Dr. Sameer Deshkar, who's the assistant professor for the Visvesvaraya National Institute of Technology in Nagpur in India. Dr. Deshkar, the floor is yours to talk about the planning there in Nagpur.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ms. Kavita, giving this opportunity, and also to the organizers to make a presentation on the city of Nagpur. I'll be quickly sharing. I hope the screen is okay. So we're presenting on the progress of climate actions in the city of Nagpur. To inform you about the location of the city, it's very much in the center of India, and it's characterized by very extreme weather conditions that we have summers reaching up to 49 degrees, and then we have also very chilly winters, which at times goes up to 4 degrees also, and we have extreme rainfall also in the city with 1200 millimeters on an average every rainy season. So we face a lot of difficulties of these weather extremities. We have heat waves, we have floods, we have also the problems during the winter season when we have many homeless people rendered vulnerable to the extreme winters. So with that, the city of Nagpur has a great challenge of formulating the climate action plan. And to do that, the city took a kind of a wholesome approach where we tried to touch upon all the 5 elements that connect the human life: the earth, air, water, energy, and the enhancement, the ultimate vacuum that we have. So all the actions that the city formulated were categorized and falling under each of these classifications, and to make it a more wholesome kind of an approach. To begin, under the earth category, what we found is that the city has been investing a lot. It's already a 3rd position city in overall India as a green city. Whereas 11% of the total land area is under the green, which comprises of different agricultural lands, the water catchment areas, water bodies, the forests, and the hilly areas. So the immediate first target of the city was to preserve these areas from the further degradation and as well as the encroachments that are happening because of the rapid urbanization. So the city prepared its biodiversity action plan and also mapped the biodiversity and to make the people aware and to involve them into the preservation of the natural assets that the city has over the year of so many period. There are institutions also which are then given substantial responsibilities to take care of these open spaces. Most of them are the institutional areas. And in coordination with the local authorities, they have been developing and protecting these green areas. The second was to protect the air. And we have, as was mentioning, it's also one of the fastest kind of a growing city with a lot of infrastructure added every year. For last particularly couple of years, we have seen a very rapid transformation in the public transportation system in the city, and thereby the expanding the boundaries of the city. And to deal with that, we have also introduced the non-motorized transportation initiatives, as well as changing the technology of the buses to CNG, as well as now we have e-buses, which are electric run buses. In addition to that, when we shifted more to the electric fuel mode, we also have to create a lot of facilities for charging and refueling of these new vehicles. And that is also kind of a great initiative which is being taken up in the city. And now different places we have the charging points and the new installations being made. We are also encouraging the people to use the bicycle, because typically, as I was mentioning, the weather conditions are very severe. So going by bicycle or by walk is a very difficult kind of a task. And however, the city is encouraging the citizens to adopt to this kind of practices by changing their this thing. Then we also have very good solar potentials. So under the Solar Alliance, we have different initiatives. Solar Alliance is the initiative by the government of India. And we have different projects which are now talking about this installing solar. However, we are lacking the total funding as well as the initiatives at the local authority for regulations that are required to be changed. There are a lot of work which is going on in this particular area. Then we have, I'll skip this, we have GHG emission inventories also being done, and we are trying to shift the mode of transportation into public transportation very soon. We also have the vulnerability mapping prepared for the city, and which constitutes different pockets which are low-lying areas, different areas which have slum, where the local communities are rendered vulnerable. By doing the mapping, we can take spatial decisions also to take measures to deal with that. Now, very recently, yes, I'll finish in just half a minute. Yes, yeah. We have a state action plan on climate change. There's a separate council initiated at the state level, and which will have a unit at the city, which is a good initiative which connects us to the global different frameworks. What we have been also doing in the recent time is this connection between the urban and the rural areas, where we have a lot of these flows of resources happening, and there are interdependencies. So any climate action that is being taken will have to have, again, a connect across the boundaries. And this is one particular initiative we are doing with the help of IGES, where we're talking about this, regional circulating ecological sphere concept, under which we have also identified different spatial level kind of connections and collaborations which are possible across urban and the rural scales. Then ultimately, we have identified these are some of the critical entry points, the challenges, what we can call, that to achieve the perfect climate resilient development, we need stakeholder engagements, community awareness, of course, technological interventions, because the mitigation mechanisms that we are looking at needs a lot of support, policy coordination, and urban-rural partnership. These are the main challenge areas that we are looking at. Thank you so much for, again, giving this opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Deskar. And that was an excellent presentation on how Nagpur city is managing its challenges. Again, I think the common thread running through the actions being taken by Miami-Dade County, Chiba City, and Nagpur is a multi-stakeholder collaborative effort where government, citizens, and people are partnering to understand the importance of the actions. And again, looking at zero carbon solutions for resilience, as well as adaptive actions by community to change their habits. So thank you very much. We will now move on to the next speaker. This is Mr. Joe Ricalex Alingasa Jr., to talk from the city. He's the City Disaster Risk Management Officer in the San Carlos city in Philippines. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening from the Philippines, and hello to the rest of the world. Good day to the rest. Let me present to you let me share to you the story in building resilience in San Carlos City. So before anything else, let me tell you, San Carlos City is just a very small city. It's located in the center of the Philippines. It's in the Visayas Islands. So in Japan, you have Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. In the Philippines, we have Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So we are in Western Visayas, Negros Occidental Province, and Carlos City. It is a second-class component city with a land area of 451.50 square kilometers and a population of around 132,000 people. Multi-hazard in San Carlos City, we have typhoon, flood, we have volcanic unrest, of course, the storm surge, landslide, bushfire, drought, diseases, and of course some unnatural hazards or human-induced hazards, insurgency, industrial fire, crime, road crash. Now, if you try to see enabling policies, as UN member state, the Philippines is in support with the Yugo Framework for Action. The Philippine Senate enacted Republic Act 10121, known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. And in 2011, pursuant to that law, San Carlos City has already anchored its disaster risk reduction with the creation of an ordinance institutionalizing the disaster risk reduction management system in the city of San Carlos and providing funds thereof. In 2012, by virtue of executive order, our city mayor created the Council for Disaster Risk Reduction and also subsequently issued an executive order for the creation of the office that will manage disaster risk reduction. So if you try to see another enabling policy here, in San Carlos City, we receive a technical assistance from the University of Philippines Urban Planning through Professor Ernesto M. Cerote, and the city endeavored to integrate disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation to its comprehensive land use plan. In 2016, the city approved its local DRM plan to serve as a guide in complying and localizing the 4 thematic areas of disaster risk reduction, namely disaster prevention and mitigation, disaster preparedness, disaster response, and recovery and rehabilitation. So in 2021, just last year, the city created a department which is first in the province of Negros Occidental with its manpower and staffing of around 80 people that will spearhead in the implementation of disaster risk reduction programs of the city. So looking at it, embracing the whole of society approach, apart from what we consider as the whole of government approach, we already had IEC programs and mostly on non-structural interventions and trying to educate and capacitate our people. In schools, we already have 1,626 individuals. In the LGUs and other government institutions, 3,184 individuals. In barangays, we have 2,067 individuals. In private sectors, 561. And in religious sector, we have 2,621. And this year, our city signed through our city mayor with its commitment in making cities resilient, and it received a certificate of commitment to disaster risk reduction and resilience just this year. So another one is understanding vulnerabilities in Carlos City is part of Philippines, and we know it's a part of the Ring of Fire. We have several disasters. We have natural and unnatural disasters. And with that, we're proud to say that with the young people, we have a city for safety and resilience in the government of San Carlos City. And we're trying also, of course, to mainstream disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation with the involvement of different stakeholders in our small city. And capacitating stakeholders. Local leaders also are being educated, especially on evacuation camp management and in community-based disaster risk reduction. We also test contingency plans with our local chief executive, prioritizing vulnerable groups with our elders and the rest, harmonizing response mechanisms with our partners in response, involving the youth, just like as you've seen the picture with our consistent implementation of the earthquake drill, and of course, trying to educate our public in capitalizing the community disaster-based DRR. And aside from that, we also, of course, try to endeavor in creating a network with our local volunteers here in San Carlos City. So that's all for now for San Carlos City, Madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alengasa Jr., for your excellent presentation on how San Carlos City. Thank you so much for your presentation. We're really looking forward to understanding. I really appreciate the whole society approach that you talked about. Disaster risk reduction is not just the responsibility of the authorities. It is also the responsibility of the people, your engagement with youth and young people and others to respond to the disasters, not just natural disaster, as you said, Philippines is a ring of fire, but also those brought about by climate change. So thank you so very much for your presentation. Excellent learning opportunity here. We now have a video recording to be played out by Mr. Mark Den Neste, the CTO of the Glass. Can we have the video presentation, please? The CTO of the AGC Glass Europe.
So good morning. My name is Mark van den Nest, and I'm basically the CTO of EGC Glass Europe and Americas. But today I will speak with two other caps. It's the chairman of Green Clusters and board members of Sambra West. So my talk will speak about Charleroi, and you see on this first slide a whole, let's say, map of Charleroi with a lot of plants, a lot of steel plants, coal mines, glass plants, and it was a map, let's say, I think it's in 54. And you see that basically Charleroi, it's born with industrial. It's an industrial city. And, but I will speak mostly about Charleroi, but Charleroi is part of the Charleroi metropolis, which means 600,000 inhabitants and 2,000, let's say, square kilometers. So it's quite a huge area, it's the biggest metropolis of Charleroi. You understand in my talk that the issue today of Charleroi in the last, let's say, 50 years, it was the transition from this old industry to the new economy and tomorrow to the new cultures of CO2 and climate change. So, of course, it didn't start today. Already, since a lot of years, Charleroi starts what they call a catch plan. So it's a catalyzer for Charleroi with 4 key sectors that has been nominated to accelerate the job creation in Charleroi. And the first one that I will speak about is advanced manufacturing. Of course, we speak about a lot of plants. So obviously, we would like to build on these endowments and continue, let's say, to develop a new economy based on those endowments. And you see on the right side some, let's say, key projects. You see the ACSCA, Advanced Engineering, Sensors and Education, that has been created and that will be upgraded with more than 90 million euro with the European funds in the coming years. You see the airport and logistics. So we have a very nice airport. Of course, we impacted by the COVID crisis, but now it's restarts, and there is a master plan that has been defined for increasing, let's say, the usage for mostly for people, let's say, of these airports. The third one is health and bio, but it should be the first one. For sure, the health and bio clusters in Charleroi, in Gosselies, is one of the most efficient in Europe. It's most efficient, obviously, in Belgium. And they're hiring, I think there is 300 open positions today, and they've hired last year more than 1,000, let's say 300 people. So it's working very well. This is very active. And the last investment that has been captured also with the European funds, this is the European Biotech School, because the most important challenge that they are facing, it's really to find the right people, let's say, to work in those companies, scale-up and startups that are working on the biotech technology. And last but not least, creative and digital, which is more in the center of Charleroi. But I will speak about the fifth one. And the fifth one that we are starting to create, it's called Clean Tech Ecosystem, that will replace the 100 hectares of industrial wastelands that are very close to the city center. You see on the pictures here, this is a whole steel industry, Cockerill becoming Usinor, ArcelorMittal, and so on. And there is a plan that has been a master plan that has been agreed by the Wallonia government, where this 108 hectares will be, I will say, renovated. And you see the main, let's say, the 5 key projects are the West Lighthouse. In fact, it's in French, it's called the Far West. So it's an industrial park, basically. You have the second one. This is the SME campus that will be dynamized by the district Clean Tech. I will speak about that district in the next slides. An urban port, a district of the futures for the Belgian defense. So this site has been selected for putting the last, let's say, defense area with more than 1,000, let's say, army people that will work not only on army stuff, but also on research and development and on cyber defense and drones and so on. And last but not least, a system of public space, culture, and landscape. So let's go a little bit more into the details about the clean tech, which is in the center of this master plan. So you see that this clean tech, let's say, district has to support and accelerate the transition of the Wallon enterprise. So this is, of course, in the context of the Green Deal. This is a burning platform for enterprise, but also for R&D centers, for university. And we hope that we would like that these clean tech centers will become the facilitating body, and the mobilization area. So there will be multiple actors already committed today that want to engage in that dynamic of the transitions. This is a strategic and emblematic place. We will speak about the key area, but this is mostly circular economy. And when we speak about circular economy, you need to be very close to the center of the city and have a lot of place. And this is the case here. And last but not least, a local expertise developed to set up a fruitful and ambitious ecosystem dynamic. So we need not only, let's say, the company, the startup, the scale-up, but we need also invest, we need a big enterprise, we need the government support. So what we would like to put inside this clean tech are, let's say, concentrated around key components: education, research and innovations, enterprise, and infrastructure. And when we speak about infrastructures, I will show you in the next slide what does it mean. So the ambition is to facilitate the transition and the decarbonization of Wallon companies and Wallon economy, become a Wallon-Belgium European place of excellence. So we don't want to make it for Charleroi, it's at least for Wallonia, but we would like to also to have a bigger, larger scope in energy transition, sustainable material, and circularity. You have the three key areas where we would like to focalize. And we would like to become an innovation platforms at the service of the Walloon companies. So the center of these ecosystems, this is these power plants. This is the former power plants of the steel industry. It's an emblematic, let's say, building. It's quite an old one, but it's quite good quality. They built with good quality at that time. And you see, let's say, the area. This is really at the center. And on the left side, you see the pictures inside. So you see there is still the turbine inside. So we have to clean it, and the work is ongoing. And of course, we need to have renovations. But you see on the right side, the Port Innovation RDM in Rotterdam, and what it could, let's say, look like in, let's say, a few months or years after renovations. So this will be the center of the hub, but you see here pictures from the outside. We will keep, let's say, some of the industrial, let's say, stuff, but you see there is a metro coming very close to it. This is not so far from the city center. There is water around, so this is really a key area, and this is also a very interesting place because this is also an area where you could put hydrogens and other. This is a Seveso place. So this is quite interesting also for development. The ecosystem is already there. It's not enough, but we will continue to build it. We speak about company working in material like AGC, of course, but industry still producing on the sites. Riva, Holcim, Comet Group, Orbix. In energy, we have ENGIE, Total Energy, Air Liquide. In the ground industry, we have several companies. In waters also. And we have, let's say, some transversal like clusters, Green Winds, Sambre Invest, an invest body, local invest body, Socofe managing, let's say, the energy for Wallonia, investment for Wallonia. Another, let's say, cluster is this Megatech cluster. So you see that we have already an ecosystem. It's not enough, but we will continue to build it. The three areas: energy transition, sustainable constructions, and circular economy and waste management. And we would like, of course, to work on project review, site location characteristics, the competitions, and the financing. And this, let's say, building will be in the center of a full area, which is the district clean tech, where you see that we could either have, let's say, some scale-up that are located startup, but also, let's say, POC tests outside of the building if we need, like for hydrogen, for example. So it's really, the goal is really to have a full district clean tech. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for that wonderful video. I hope all our presenters as well as the audience today was able to take some lessons about how and the whole climate disaster and the impending changes that are happening can also be used as an opportunity to regenerate and rehabilitate the city and turn it around from, as you saw how Charlotte did, and made this a new opportunity for new type of industries and new people, new opportunities for the city. We have about 5 minutes left for this session, and I want to pose just one question to all speakers, starting with Miami-Dade County. What was the challenges and what support do you to overcome the challenges that you're facing in the cities to become more resilient? What support and collaboration and cooperation do you need? So I will start with Miami-Dade County. Ms. Gomez, please, if you could respond to that.
Yes, of course. So I think like we have seen in the presentations, we need support at all levels, starting with our own community and working on a regional and across regions in the entire United States. And of course, looking at what others are doing around the world, learning from people that have done innovative things, that they are more advanced than us. It's important to see what we can take from them and put it or implement it here in Miami-Dade County. So it's very important to collaborate at all levels and really find out those innovative approaches that we know may have here in Miami-Dade County, but others are doing. So that's very important.
Thank you. You touched upon the very reason for such seminars and conferences for collaboration and learning from each other as a support. I'll turn to the Chiba city. What support do you need to be able to overcome the challenges of building a resilient city? Anzai-san, please. The floor is yours.
Hi. Thank you. So, in the adaptation of the climate change and also the mitigation, in order to execute these elements, we need to involve all kinds of stakeholders, and it's important to have their engagement and also cooperation. We need to look at the same direction and share the same sense of urgency. I think that is the most important thing. That's all.
Thank you. That's a very, very important point you make about the sense of urgency. No action can be taken unless we have that. Turning to Nagpur, to Dr. Deshkar, what support would you need to strengthen the local actions on climate adaptation? Would cities need? So your points, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think there are three areas that we're trying to look at. One, and most important, is institutionalizing these actions on the climate change adaptation and mitigation, because most of the development in the city are regulated through these development control norms that we have. But unless we have the actions for climate adaptation ingrained into these regulations, it will be difficult to implement. And that's what we are at the moment looking glaringly. This is one. Second is the sustainable financing, because many of the funding that are coming from the abroad. Now we have a lot of this foreign funding from JICA. Also, we are receiving a lot of good amount of funding, but then they are limited to a certain action or a certain component of a total action plan. So unless we have a sustainable kind of financing mechanism that will ensure that from right beginning to the end, we'll have some kind of a support, that is something that we are looking at, because many of the cities in India are also cash strapped. If you know the financing position of the municipal authorities, they are struggling very badly with the finances. So climate action adaptation, they are very costly affairs. So cities of this second tier or third tier kind of this thing, they cannot afford this very high-tech kind of a solution. So we need to have tailor-made systems, technologies, as well as cost-effective technology. This is something that we are, the second challenge that I believe where we need a lot of support from the outer world. And the third thing that we require is broadening the perspectives of the decision makers. They're still limited only on thinking of one ward, one city, and not linking it with the outer areas, which actually are important in the overall climate actions. It cannot be sitting just in my room and trying to make my building energy efficient unless I also look at what is happening at the rural areas which are supplying me energy to remain inside my building. So I think we need at 3 different levels the interventions to make it more effective.
Thank you. Last but not least, I'll turn to the city of San Carlos, Mr. Alingasa. What support would you need, sir, for further action at the local level?
Thank you very much. We've been trying to look at the possibility of strategizing with our private partners and letting them understand that corporate social responsibility or beyond the business continuity planning, they must also try to create the prioritization and the importance of disaster risk reduction in the grassroots level. Well, in the Philippines, you know that poverty and political instability are among the key issues why we cannot really catapult or somewhat like go beyond what we used to dream of becoming a resilient country. But the support that the community can give is really letting their goals also try to understand what the city is all about when we talk of resilience. It's not just being on profitability, it's not just making business here. We must also look beyond that horizon and trying to let the people be resilient, because the shocks and stresses that we feel in the Philippines can also affect even business and private sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all the speakers. This has been a wonderful experience talking here about the shared experiences from around the globe. Some common themes are emerging. That is, you need integrated planning and policy. You need long-term thinking. You do need short-term responses to disasters. And you need a whole society approach where all stakeholders, local governments, federal governments, as well as youth, civil society, education institute, and industry can collaborate together with the same sense of urgency to build all parts of the society to become more resilient and adaptive to climate. And the need for doing both mitigation and adaptation actions together to be able to respond to the upcoming climate challenges is very, very critical. With that, I thank all the speakers for participating today in this very interesting discussion at this forum. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Shinha and distinguished speakers for the wonderful session. This is the end of Parallel Session 3. Now, we would like to take a short break before the final session. The next session will start from around 9 a.m. at Eastern Standard Time and around 11 p.m. at Japan time. Thank you very much, everyone, for waiting. Now, we would like to move on to the closing plenary. In this session, we would like to invite the rapporteurs of the forum to report the review of this forum. First, we would like to introduce our rapporteurs. Ms. Kataoka Yatsuka, Program Director, City Task Force, Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and Mr. Uchida Togo, Director, Int'l Japan Office. Now, Uchida-san, please start your report.
Thank you very much. As introduced, my name is Togo Uchida, and I am the Executive Director of Int'l Japan Office. Let me start by summarizing what we have discussed in the 2 days of consecutive sessions that we had. We had 22 cities and regions and 10 institutions from 14 countries all participating and discussing in these 2 days. At the opening and the framing session, we had a video message from Prime Minister Kishida Fumio, followed by opening remarks from Mr. Yamaguchi Tsuyoshi, Minister of the Environment of Japan, and Mr. Rahm Emanuel, United States Ambassador to Japan. And we also had a framing presentation by Madame Patricia Espinosa, Executive Secretary of UNFCCC. The key findings from the opening and the framing session is summarized as follows. We emphasize the importance of subnational actions. Crucial role of cities and regions to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Need of a variety of bottom-up measures according to local situations. Example, promoting local energy resources on compact, low-energy consumption lifestyles. Win-win solutions for economic growth and GHG reduction are already there for each city. Importance of city planning, it can be maximize impact in both mitigation and adaptation when their actions are systemic, integrated, and sector-wide. Following the opening session, we had a session 1 titled Net Zero Transition, How Cities Are Moving Forward Towards Zero Carbon. And we had a moderator from Int'l USA, Angie, and who is an executive director. We had a speaker from US, Japan, Brazil, Australia, and Germany, all representing from a different part of the region. The key findings from the session 1 is commitments of subnational governments. Rising climate leadership at subnational level towards net zero emission and increase of climate resilience. Electrification of all people, goods, and services is important. Promote urban development based on economic, social, and environmental SDGs. Tackle zero carbon with local natural resources, and involve citizens and youth in activities through participatory programs. Now I pass on to Kataoka-san.
Thank you very much. So I will introduce the key findings of the other sessions. First, for the city collaboration and the city collaboration and the multi-level collaboration. So it is emphasized multi-level cooperation of all levels of governments need to be strengthened to accelerate climate actions. To incorporate some subnational voices more in the national policy development and implementations, and also promote local actions with human resources, technical information, and the finance from the national governments. And to make international cooperation like city-to-city collaboration and strengthen collaboration among related supporting programs. And then also it is emphasized the importance of the city-to-city collaboration, which is sharing the solutions to strategy among subnational governments in effective to facilitate subnational actions, raise ambitions, and encourage each other towards zero carbon city. So in this, and also the cross-border decarbonizing domino effect should be further promoted through the city-to-city collaboration. Next, please. And today, we have some thematic sessions. First, building and transportation, which is a key sector for the carbon emission reduction in the cities. So it is emphasized the importance of walkable, bikeable, and accessible design of the city, and city for car to city for the people, and better air quality. And for the building sector also, renewable energy use and increase of energy efficiency of new and existing buildings should be further promoted. It contributes to the emission reduction and economic gains. For transportation, modernization of mobility and their emission fuel reduces GHG emissions and increase urban amenity. Next, please. And for the resilient cities, so the adaptation plays a key role in reducing exposure and vulnerability of climate change. And also it is emphasized that climate adaptation and mitigation actions should be implemented in an integrated way to strengthen the resilience. Also, the inter- and intra-governmental coordination and partnership with local stakeholders is key to strengthen resilience. And then also for the COP27 in this year, adaptation actions at local government need to be accelerated. Next, please. And for the decarbonization planning at block and district levels. So carbon neutrality should be incorporated in urban planning. And in creating advanced decarbonized area and expansion of this area to neighboring districts, cities, and regions is an effective way to reduce emissions of cities. Also, such decarbonized area development could be a model case for the others. So and then this the economic area as a showcase, building ownership and walkable city and infrastructure. Next, please. So this is kind of brief summary of forum. So the speakers shared example of advocate efforts and discussed challenges and future activities more than we summarized this today. And the importance of close collaboration between national and local governments was discussed. And success story by international city-to-city collaboration was confirmed. Further actions are expected to identify subnational needs and to discuss how to promote. So this is the end of the summary of the forum, and then the outcome of the forum will be summarized as out of documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kataoka and Mr. Uchida. We now would like to introduce two distinguished speakers for closing remarks. Mr. Reid Schuller, Senior Advisor to Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, and Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Ministry of the Environment, Japan. First, we would like to invite Mr. Reid Schuller, Senior Advisor to Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, to deliver his closing remarks.
Thank you. On behalf of Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, it's my enormous privilege to help to close out this important forum. We all know that a successful global fight against the climate crisis requires leadership at all levels and close collaboration among these levels. That's exactly what this forum has been about. Our leading cities in Japan, in the United States, and around the world are making enormous strides toward achieving these goals. Whether that comes in the form of decarbonizing transportation, through public transit, vehicle electrification, and making our cities pleasant and safe for pedestrians and bicyclists, or electrifying our buildings and making them more efficient, or protecting our critical infrastructure from the many and growing threats of climate change, our cities have been taking the lead for years, and we are learning from them. And it is through cooperation between cities, among cities, states, and national governments, and internationally on all these subjects, that we rapidly propagate the innovations and policy successes coming to us from these laboratories of climate progress. Japan and the United States have both made ambitious commitments to dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions this decade, and to do so on a pathway to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. Both of our countries are enormously aided in this fight by the leadership of our mayors, who are making ambitious goals of their own and using every tool in the toolkit to get there. And so the United States and Japan are both profound believers in the idea that subnational governments at all levels are crucial partners in the global fight against the climate crisis, because that is our very real experience in both countries. And through this effort, we are dedicated to sharing this idea and supporting it globally, where it is no less true. Every one step one city takes toward transforming its economy, reducing its emissions, and enhancing its resilience is one more step the world takes toward achieving our goals. One more successful data point we have to help other cities, to move national governments, and to advance to the next policy. It's through these steps, taken one at a time, in hard work across the world, that we win the battle. And so it's with great thanks to Japan's Ministry of the Environment, for hosting this event today, to all the cities and wonderful organizations who participated and made it a reality. And we look forward to the close partnership that is to come to continue to lift up the role of cities as being part of this global struggle. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schuller, for your remarks. Next, we would like to invite Mr. Shoda Yutaka, Vice Minister for Global Environmental Affairs, Ministry of the Environment, Japan, to deliver his closing remarks.
Thank you to all of the participants for joining this forum. Now, we have come to the end of the second day of the Zero Carbon City International Forum, and I'd like to give a few closing remarks. Following the success of last year's forum, many new cities from a variety of regions across the world participated in the forum this year. I'd like to express my gratitude to the speakers and moderators. I would also like to thank the UNFCCC Secretariat, ICRAE, and IGES for their dedicated cooperation in organizing this meeting. We were able to share advanced and concrete efforts that cities have been taking as they strive to become zero-carbon cities in line with the theme of this forum. We were also able to confirm the importance of the role of international organizations and central governments in encouraging those efforts by cities. Our ministry has been promoting various initiatives, including this forum, in order to create leading models of decarbonization across various regions. In this way, we hope that these models can follow one after another to create a smooth flow to a decarbonized society. Listening to the discussion at this forum, I renewed my desire to contribute to the decarbonization of cities by expanding this decarbonization domino effect, not only domestically, but also internationally. The perspectives gained over the course of 2 days of discussions will be summarized in a forum report, which will be published at a later date. We hope to share the outcomes of this forum at COP27 and related meetings in the future, and continue discussion to maintain and improve the momentum of subnational decarbonization. Let me take this opportunity to once again extend our gratitude to the U.S. Office of Special Presidential Envoy for Climate for co-hosting this forum. The United States and Japan will continue to promote cooperation on subnational decarbonization in third countries under the Japan-US Global Subnational Zero Carbon Promotion Initiative. This forum also gave us a good chance to acknowledge the various international programs that are supporting subnational decarbonization. Going forward, we are aiming to strengthen collaboration and synergy between such programs and promote specific cooperation activities to identify and support subnational needs in developing countries to accelerate a cross-border decarbonization domino effect. In closing, let me reaffirm the following key points: realization of zero-carbon cities, collaboration between national and local governments, and creation of a decarbonization domino effect. With this, I'd like to reiterate my wish that we can further accelerate our efforts to achieve subnational decarbonization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister Shoda, for your remarks. Once again, thank you, Mr. Schuller and Vice Minister Shoda, for your wonderful remarks at the end of this forum. Thank you very much for your participation today. We will now close the Zero Carbon City International Forum. Thank you again for your active participation.